What's up, you guys? Welcome back to 10 Million in 10 Months. I'm Kim, CEO and co-founder of Listener Brands, which owns CurlMix and 4C Only. And today, you guys, I'm going to be talking about lessons or things I wish I knew before I made $1 million. I was scrolling through one of my Facebook business groups and someone asked that question and they're like, leave your comments below. And I just wrote real quick and I was like, this will be a great video idea because so many people are just itching to get to that $1 million mark. And there's some things that I wish I had gotten right before I made $1 million or just that I knew before I made $1 million. So let's get into it. Oh, but before we do, go ahead and click the subscribe button and the like button for this video so you guys can get notifications on the next one and get our revenue updates. All right, so let's get into it. Number one, the first thing I wish I knew before I made $1 million, that if you are going to run a venture-backed startup, your number one job as a CEO is to be finding money. That is the key above, thing above all things, number one priority. Your job is to find money. And what do I mean by that? There's pitch competitions, there's debt, there's equity. In equity, there's angel investments, there's venture. There's so many ways to get money. There's grants, there's government funding, there's PPP. I mean, literally, I can name all the things. But your job is to pretty much fund your business to a point where you can figure out how to get through the issues that you're dealing with, right? You're not going to have all the answers, but sometimes having enough money to float you until you figure out the answers is all the difference, right? You can fund your business so that maybe someone else has a better product, but because you're so well funded, you will figure out the better product in a year or two and you have more time to do it because you have more money in the bank. People underestimate this all the time. And I see Black founders specifically who don't want to give up any equity, which is fine, right? But it's like, would you rather have 100% of a grape or a quarter of a watermelon, right? I want a quarter of a watermelon. So I have been raising money since the beginning. But one of the mistakes I made on the way to making our first $1 million, I was starting to have conversations with venture investors or angels and institutions. And I had raised my first $1 million after Shark Tank, and then I stopped. I almost a little arrogant, like, well, we got it, we good, we don't need it. We're making money. I don't want to sell my equity, which is fine, right? But the lesson I learned is that you raise money when you're up, not when you're down. Because when you're down, it's going to be hard for you to get any checks, right? And that's when you're going to be getting debt. You're going to be getting all these other forms of financing. Whereas if you raise when you're on the up, and I didn't know that you could raise, let's say you raise your seed round today and you raise $1.2 million. You could find somebody who's going to give you that next valuation tomorrow and raise their second round literally within a week from now, right? I thought, no, you got to wait a year or two between every round. I don't know where I got this notion from, but that is silly, right? Because one of my investors, Jeff, he was sitting me in front of people who had invested in Nasty Gal or Glossier or Dry Bar. And I'm basically telling them like, oh, I'm not raising, no worries, And now I think about it, I was like, oh my gosh, I should have capitalized on that momentum, but I didn't, right? I was focused on kind of keeping everything to myself and kind of hoarding all of my equity. Now, on the flip side, it made us a better business because I learned how to operate with less cash, which meant I probably preserved more equity over time. And it also made us a leaner business, right? But had I raised that money, we could be, 20 million in 10 months right now, or 50 million in 10 months right now, versus that 2-year gap between my rounds. Essentially, I had raised in, I want to say April of 2019, and then I raised my next round in 2021. But if I had done both in 2019, who knows what we'd be talking about right now, right? We may have 4 or 5 brands instead of 2. So, or we may have failed because I didn't know how to run the business properly and wasted all that money. But you never know, right? But that was a lesson. I wish I had known that my number one job was actually finding funding for the business. And I say finding funding because you don't have to sell equity, right? You can use debt. You can use convertible debt. You can use, and I'm saying all these terms. Let me know in the comments if you don't know what I'm talking about, or if you want me to go into depth of some of these types of financing. Because I feel like there's 15 different ways you can finance your business, more. And I've done them all. And that is the one thing that I think sets me apart from other founders is that I know how to find money. My second priority, the thing I wish I knew before making $1 million, I wish I knew that my second priority was finding excellent talent. You will either make a lot of money or lose a lot of money from hiring the right and wrong people. So early on, I was just kind of focused on like, I don't know, I'm just going to find anybody to put into this role to get it done. And I found that there were some real rock stars that I hired and some frogs that I kissed because I didn't know how to hire properly. Now, unfortunately, I feel like this is only the thing that you will learn by doing. It's the trial by fire kind of thing. But I wish I had taken it more seriously early on. So I did take it seriously, and I did get myself out of some of the day-to-day operations so I could work on the business and not in it. So I only made product in my business for maybe 3 to 6 months. Some people will get stuck making product forever. And there's nothing wrong with making product, but if your job is a CEO, you need to be finding money. And if you're making product, you're not finding money. And if you're not finding money, you can't fund your business. Your business is going to die. So it is important that you are getting yourself out of those tasks so you can go and find the money for your team. Unless you have someone on your team who's really good at finding money, that is your job, right? So what does that mean? That means that you are not shipping boxes. That means that you are not packing orders. You are not making products. You are not sending emails. Sometimes there's work that feels like this is making a lot of money, so I should be doing this, you know? And sometimes that's yes, but what that also means is you probably need to put a process in place and find the right person to be doing that job. That's very, very important. And you have close oversight over it, but you should not be the one doing it because what your job is to find money. So that means that you need to hire for all those positions early on and create a process for hiring them. Maybe you're using a recruiting agency. You can be the one that's posting the jobs on Indeed and doing all the interviews. But honestly, I feel like sometimes that's a waste of time too, because you are not to filter through to get one good person. And if you find one good person, they don't accept your offer, you've just wasted a month looking for someone. And it's like you could have paid someone else a few $1,000s to do that same thing and given you 4 or 5 candidates where you'll select one from that. And that would have been a better use of your time as someone who's supposed to be finding money, right? So I wish I had created a better system around hiring. And one of my favorite ways to do that now is to hire really smart people into my company, tell them who I want, write up the job description, get them the right one, and then me edit it, right? And then they go out and find the person. I've had recruiters, and they're great, but you start paying on a head-by-head basis, you're going to be charging anywhere from $2,000 to $20,000 per person that you hire. So, and then sometimes they don't even stay. So I don't necessarily like to use recruiting agencies anymore. I will for something super specialized, but I like to actually keep it in-house and do the hiring internally. I also interview everyone before they actually get hired. Now people are like, girl, what do you mean you're not doing the whole process? No. So I have really like high-level executive assistants or executives who will interview them, phone screens, then they'll do the in-person interviews. And then once they have someone they actually like love, then I interview them. And if I see something I find wrong with that person, then we don't hire that person. But early on, there was no process for hiring. It was just like, okay, this person knows how to send email marketing emails. Okay, let's hire them, and that was not the right way to do it. One of my favorite and best hires was actually my director of marketing. She's no longer with us, but I sought her out because I knew exactly what she needed to know, her skills, and actually poached her from a company. The best people are already working somewhere else. If someone was easy, and my best people were always working somewhere else before I hired them. The people who were not it never ended well, right? So the people who are great employees are currently employed. So you're gonna have to go and poach some people, which also means you need to be inspiring enough to bring them, but also means you got to be able to pay them, which means you need to be doing your job of finding money. So number 1 job, finding money. Number 2, a priority, hiring great people. And then number 3 is the systems. If you hire someone great and you don't onboard them properly, 70% of retention of your employees actually comes from the onboarding process. If you don't onboard them well, they will not stay, right? So you have to make sure that process is in place for them before they come. And a lot of us as entrepreneurs, we like to say, hey, I'm going to hire this person to build the SOP. Well, guess what? That is more like them starting their own business. And that is not why they came to work for you. They came to work for you because you're going to pay them a comfortable salary to do something that they love and work with people that they like. They don't want to have to build the job that they're doing, right? So that was a lesson I also learned. I'm like, hey, you build out the department. And while some people will love to do that, most will not. And you will burn out your very talented people very quickly doing that. So my recommendation, figure out how you should have it done or how you want it done. Write it down, give it to the person that you're hiring and say, hey, I only got this maybe halfway and I'm open for this changing, but this is the process that I think should be in place. And if you don't know what the process should be, hire a consultant, someone who's run a business before, someone who, and it don't have to be a big business, right? They could have run $1 million business or a $5 million business. Hire them, ask them what the process should be, and then use that process. But don't hire some people expecting them to come up with it, because you're going to lose every time. Last bonus tip, I mentioned those 3 priorities. Everything else does not matter, right? I know I might tell you to go live and market for your business. I mean, that's important, right? But it would be even better if you could hire somebody who was really good at it to help market your business, right? And you can only do that if you have money, you have a hiring process, and you actually have a system for them once they get here. Everything else is not important. One of the things I've learned is that, and I learned this through the book E-Myth. It's called Entrepreneur Myth. And it basically talks about the person who is running a pie shop, and she starts running a business starts making pies and selling them because she loves making pies. But ultimately, she's not a great entrepreneur. And so this consultant is walking her through the steps of getting capital, hiring people, putting a process in place. And that is how you create a business, a tangible asset that you can potentially sell or grow or do any of these things with. So these are just 3 things I wish I knew before hitting $1 million. Last thing I wish I knew is that making $1 million does not mean you got $1 million in your bank account. Making $1 million or no funding means you probably have a lot of debt at the end of the day. More debt than you had when you actually started your business. Unless you're doing like coaching or something like that, because that's a lot of profit. But I digress. I hope these tips were helpful for you guys. And yeah, good luck on getting into your $1 million in revenue. All right, thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to go ahead and click subscribe below, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye.